I was 30 when I returned to my childhood home, but the last thing I expected was to find a hidden letter sewn inside my old blanket, a letter that somehow knew things I had never told anyone. The attic smelled like dust and memories as I pulled down the old cardboard boxes my mother had kept untouched for years. I wasn't ready to clear the house after she passed, but something in me said I needed to do it now, maybe to understand the pieces of her I never truly knew. I pushed aside stacks of winter clothes, my old school drawings, tiny shoes I couldn't believe were ever mine, and then I saw it. My childhood blanket. The faded blue one with tiny stitched stars, the one I carried everywhere until I was 10. When I picked it up, something inside it crinkled. At first, I thought it was just the fabric stiffening with age, but then I felt the shape. A thin rectangle, paper. My heart tightened. My blanket had never held anything like that. I scanned the seams and saw a tiny hand stitch that didn't match the rest. Someone had hidden something in it, carefully, lovingly. I slid my fingers under the seam and tugged. It gave way slowly, thread by thread, like it had been waiting years to be opened. And then, a folded piece of paper slipped into my palm. Yellowed edges. Soft from age. My hands were shaking before I even opened it. I didn't know why, maybe because my mother had always said that blanket kept me safe, or maybe because the house felt too quiet, as if everything was holding its breath. I unfolded it. The handwriting was familiar, looping, gentle, almost like someone whispering across time. My breath caught when I read the first line. If you are reading this, it means the moment I feared has come. And suddenly, the attic didn't feel like an attic anymore. It felt like a doorway, like the past had reached out to speak directly to me. I stared at the first sentence, my eyes blurring as though my mind refused to let the words fully land. The moment I feared has come. What moment? Why would my mother write something like that, and why hide it inside my blanket, of all places? The attic felt colder as I read on, the rafters creaking softly above me, as if the house itself was listening. You were too young to understand back then, the letter continued, but I knew one day you'd search for answers in places touched by your childhood. That is why I left this where you would eventually look, not too soon, not too late. A tremor moved through me. My mother was warm, steady, the kind of woman who filled every room with a calm presence. She was also private. Painfully private. For her to write something hinting at fear, it didn't make sense. I sank onto an old wooden crate, letting my fingers run over the blanket again, suddenly remembering nights when I curled beneath it during thunderstorms. She used to sit beside me, humming softly, telling me I was safe. Safe from what? My throat tightened as I kept reading. The truth has a strange way of resurfacing. I couldn't risk telling you while you were a child, and as you grew, I feared the burden might change the way you saw your life. But if you are reading this now, it means you are strong enough to hold it. Strong enough. My pulse quickened. This wasn't a letter a mother wrote for something small or simple. This was something heavy, something she believed would reshape everything. I brushed dust from my jeans, trying to steady myself, but a sense of anticipation pressed against my ribs. It felt like the attic air thickened around me. I reached the final line on the page. Begin with the box you feared. The one beneath the floorboard. My breath caught. I knew exactly which box she meant. The one she always told me never to touch, the one I had avoided my entire childhood. My hands suddenly felt cold. Because that floorboard was only a few steps away. For a long moment, I couldn't move. The attic around me felt impossibly still, as if even the dust suspended in the air waited for what I might do next. My mother had mentioned fear, had hidden a letter inside a blanket, and now she was pointing me toward the one place in the house I had avoided since childhood. The floorboard. That particular board had always felt strange to me. When I was little, I used to tiptoe around it because it made a hollow sound if you stepped on it too hard. My mother would gently guide me away, saying, "Not there, sweetheart, that space isn't for you yet." At the time, I thought she meant spiders or mold or some ordinary adult thing. Now I knew better. My heart thudded as I crossed the attic, every step echoing softly in the dim space. The wooden planks creaked beneath me, releasing faint groans that made the house sound older than it really was. I knelt beside the board she had warned me about my whole life. The air felt colder here, heavier. I slid my fingers along the edge. The wood resisted, swollen with age, but after a few tries it lifted, just enough for me to grasp. I pulled it back, revealing the small cavity beneath it. A dark, narrow space. And inside, a box. Just as the letter had said. The box was old, metal, scuffed at the corners. A tiny lock hung from the front, rusted but still intact. I swallowed, feeling something twist low in my stomach. My mother had kept this hidden since before I could remember. Why? When I lifted it out, dust rose in a soft cloud, drifting through a shaft of light leaking in from the attic window. I held the box against my chest for a moment, feeling the cold metal against my heartbeat, grounding myself. The lock wasn't difficult to break, time had worn it down. With a quick twist using a loose nail I found nearby, it snapped. A metallic click echoed through the attic, startling me more than it should have. I opened the lid slowly, bracing myself, but nothing prepared me for what was inside. A small stack of photographs. A folded document with my name on it. And beneath that, a sealed envelope addressed to my mother in handwriting I didn't recognize. But what froze me completely, what sent a chill up my spine, was the photograph on top. A picture of me, as a baby, in the arms of someone who wasn't my mother. My fingers trembled as I lifted the photograph closer to the light. The image was old, the colors softened with time, but the details were unmistakable. I was wrapped in a pale blanket, not the star-stitched one my mother kept all those years, but something plain, almost clinical. And the woman holding me, she wasn't my mother. Her face was gentle but tired, framed by dark curls that fell around her cheeks. She looked young, too young, maybe only in her early 20s. Her eyes were fixed on me with a tenderness so deep it made my throat tighten. Whoever she was, she held me like I was her entire world. My mind raced. Why did my mother have this? Who was this woman? And why had this been hidden away beneath the floorboards? I placed the photo down carefully, afraid it might disintegrate under the weight of my questions. Beneath it were more pictures. Some showed the same woman holding me in different rooms, small, undecorated spaces that looked nothing like the home I grew up in. Others showed her beside a man I had never seen before, tall, serious, his hand resting protectively on her shoulder. They looked like a family. My chest tightened painfully. A family I didn't recognize. I reached for the folded document next, the one with my name faintly visible through time-softened paper. The edges crinkled as I opened it. A birth certificate. Or something close to it. My stomach dropped when I read the line beneath my date of birth, Mother, Elena Hart. I whispered the name under my breath, tasting its unfamiliarity. Elena. A name I had never heard spoken in my home. A name I never knew belonged to me at all. I closed my eyes, trying to steady the dizziness creeping in. My mother, the woman who raised me, loved me, tucked me into bed every night, was nowhere on the document. That realization struck like a physical blow. Why didn't she tell me? Why hide this? Why sew a letter into my blanket instead of explaining while she was alive? My pulse quickened as I reached for the last item, the envelope addressed to my mother. The handwriting was elegant, careful, almost trembling, as if written in desperation or fear. My name wasn't on it, but something told me I had to open it. My mother had guided me here for a reason. She wanted me to see this, to understand something she couldn't say herself. With a deep breath, I slid my thumb under the seal. The envelope opened with a soft tear, and the air around me seemed to shift, as though the attic braced for what I was about to read. The letter inside the envelope was written on thin, delicate paper, the kind that feels almost weightless but carries far too much meaning. The ink had faded in places, but the handwriting remained steady, careful, intentional. I unfolded it slowly, afraid of what I might discover yet unable to stop myself. Margaret, it began. My mother's name. I felt my chest tighten. Whoever wrote this knew her well enough to write with a familiarity that made my stomach twist. I don't know if you will ever read this, but I have no choice but to reach out. I can't keep her safe the way you can. I can't give her the life she deserves. Her. Me. The truth settled over me like cold rain. I swallowed hard and continued. Elena is sick. We've tried for months to find treatment, but the doctors say we're out of time. She wanted to tell you herself, but she can barely speak now. She holds our daughter every night and whispers that she hopes the stars will guide her to the right place. I froze. Our daughter. The words trembled against the page, echoing through the quiet attic. The letter continued, the tone turning heavier, almost apologetic. When we realized she wouldn't recover, Elena made me promise I would come to you. She remembered your kindness years ago, how you protected her when she had no one. She believed, truly believed, you were the only person in this world who could raise our child with the love she deserves. My breath stuttered as the truth unraveled faster than I could process it. If you agree to take her, please keep her safe. Please love her the way Elena wished she could. And if one day she asks about us, tell her we loved her. Tell her we never wanted to leave her. But tell her gently, Margaret. She is innocent in all of this. A tear slipped down my cheek, landing on the paper. I wiped it quickly, terrified of damaging the last words of a man I never knew, yet who had given me life. The final lines felt like a whisper across time. If fate is kind, she will grow up whole. And maybe one day, if she's strong enough, she will find this letter, and understand why we had to let go. I lowered the paper slowly, the attic spinning around me. My heartbeat thudded in my ears, heavy and uneven. My entire life, every memory, every moment with my mother, they all suddenly looked different. She hadn't simply chosen to raise me. She had stepped into loss. Into grief. Into love that wasn't originally hers, but became stronger than any truth she had hidden. I pressed the letter to my chest, trying to breathe. My mother hadn't betrayed me. She had saved me. I sank to the dusty attic floor, the letter trembling in my hands. My mind felt heavy, tangled between memories of my mother and the truth I had just uncovered. She wasn't my biological mother, but she had loved me as fiercely, as completely, as any parent ever could. And now, learning the story of my real mother, Elena, the woman whose arms had once held me, made every memory ache in a new way. I stared at the box again. The photographs, the birth document, the envelope, each one a thread connecting me to a past I hadn't known I had. I felt small, untethered, as if I had been sailing my whole life without knowing where the shore was. And yet, a warmth spread through me. My mother had left these clues for a reason. She had known I could handle the truth, even if it scared me. Even if it reshaped everything I thought I knew about myself. I leaned back against the slanted wall, closing my eyes. I could hear her voice in my memory, soft and steady, humming beside my bed, brushing my hair back, telling me stories of stars and rivers and forests I had never seen. How many times had I wondered if she truly understood me? Now I realized, she had understood everything. She had taken a life not her own and made it entirely mine, with love that demanded no acknowledgement. The attic felt alive around me, the dust motes dancing in the slanted sunlight, the house exhaling softly as if it, too, was letting me in on a secret it had kept for decades. I traced the edge of the box again and my fingers found the smallest envelope inside, tucked beneath the photographs. Unlike the first one, this had no writing, no date, only a faint emblem in the corner. Curiosity won over hesitation. My fingers shook as I lifted it, the paper soft against my palms. It wasn't addressed to anyone, but I felt its importance immediately. It was the next piece of the story, something my mother had wanted me to see, something that would explain why fate had brought Elena and me together, and why she had needed to leave me in Margaret's care. I exhaled slowly, gathering courage. Whatever was inside that envelope, I knew it would change everything, again. I broke the seal on the small envelope, and inside was a folded note, much smaller than the others, but the handwriting struck me immediately, familiar, delicate, almost trembling. It was Elena's. My real mother's hand, reaching across years, across the distance of my childhood. To the one who will raise her, it began, I do not know your name, but I trust you. I trust that you have the heart my daughter needs, the strength to love her when I cannot. I hope you know that leaving her was the hardest choice I ever made. My hands shook. I could feel her sorrow in each carefully formed word, every pause between the sentences. The letter wasn't just written for Margaret, it was written for me, for the child who had never understood why her life began this way. She is small, fragile, but fierce, the note continued. She will remember kindness and love, if you guide her, protect her, and never let her feel the absence she cannot comprehend yet. And please, if the day comes when she asks about me, tell her I loved her. Tell her that I fought for her in the ways I could. That even in leaving, I held her in my heart. I pressed the note to my lips. The attic felt impossibly quiet, the light through the small window soft and golden, bathing the floorboards and dust motes in warmth. I thought about my mother, Margaret, who had raised me with unwavering love, and now Elena, whose life had been full of struggle and sacrifice, and how their hearts had intertwined without ever meeting. I realized the truth was not just about birth or blood, it was about love and protection, choices made in the shadows of fear, hope sown in the tiniest gestures, like a letter hidden inside a blanket. A sob escaped me, and I let it come. It was grief, but also relief. Answers were here, yet more questions stirred, about Elena, about the life I hadn't known, about the family I never met. I folded the note carefully and placed it back in the box. My hands lingered on the photographs again, the birth document, the letters. Each one was a piece of a puzzle, and I knew I had only just begun to see the full picture. Somehow, the weight of the secret felt lighter now, as if understanding it, even in part, gave me permission to breathe, to step into the story that had always been mine, waiting for me to discover. I stayed in the attic longer than I realized, the afternoon light fading into a golden haze, brushing across the dusty floor. Each item in the box felt like a heartbeat from the past, Elena's and Margaret's and somehow mine too, woven together in ways I was only beginning to understand. I held the photograph of Elena one more time, imagining her whispering to me across the years. I thought about her courage, the way she had let go, knowing someone else, my mother, would carry me safely. My chest ached with gratitude and longing all at once. And then I noticed something I had missed before, a tiny folded piece of paper tucked behind the photograph. It wasn't like the others. No envelope, no markings. Just a note written in a hurried scrawl. I unfolded it carefully, my fingers brushing the faded edges. If she ever seeks the truth, show her the world I could not give. Let her find the love I could not provide. Tell her she is brave. Tell her she is whole. And tell her, always tell her she is enough. The words struck me like a quiet thunderclap. Enough. That's what I had always felt I needed to prove, whether to Margaret, to the world, or to myself. And now I realized. Elena had believed it too, before I even knew her. I sank back against the wall, staring at the small window, letting the sun wash over me. The house seemed alive with memories, with quiet acts of love hidden in shadows, in letters, in blankets. It felt like both worlds, mine and the one I had never known, were converging here, in this attic, in this moment. Tears ran freely now, unrestrained. It wasn't just grief or confusion, it was awe. I had discovered a past that I hadn't known existed, a story that had been kept for decades, waiting for me to find it. I knew I couldn't stop here. The letters hinted at more, stories untold, people I had never met, truths that would reshape everything I believed about family and love. My heart pounded with anticipation and fear. I carefully packed the box and notes, cradling them as if they were as fragile as the life they had described. Tomorrow, I would start tracing the threads of Elena's world. But tonight, I would let the attic hold me, let the voices of the past whisper, let the weight of hidden love remind me that even secrets carried hope, and even absence carried devotion. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my old bedroom, the blanket wrapped around me, the same one that had held the hidden letter, and stared at the ceiling. The moonlight spilled across the floorboards, soft and silver, illuminating the corners of a room that felt both familiar and strange. I kept thinking about Elena, about the choices she had made. She had given me life and then let me go, trusting someone else to love me fully. And Margaret, my mother, had taken that trust and transformed it into years of unwavering care, shielding me from truths I wasn't ready for. I wondered what it must have been like for them, two women, connected by love, loss, and hope, each carrying pieces of me without knowing the whole. The thought made my heart ache, a mixture of gratitude and sorrow that left me breathless. Eventually, exhaustion claimed me, but even in sleep, the images lingered. The photographs, the letters, the small notes, they replayed like a delicate film in my mind, each scene revealing more of the story, more of the heartbeats that had created my life in silence. The next morning, I returned to the attic, determined to understand more. I traced every photograph, every document, connecting names to faces, events to emotions. Each discovery made the story richer, deeper, and yet more painful, because it reminded me of what had been lost, what had been hidden, and what had been carried in secret for decades. I realized then that this wasn't just about uncovering the past. It was about understanding it, about honoring the love that had been given, the sacrifices that had been made, and the trust that had allowed me to grow into the person I was today. And somewhere in that understanding, I felt a strange calm settle over me. It wasn't resolution, not yet, but it was a beginning. A first step toward piecing together the life that had been carefully kept just out of reach. I knew there were more answers to find, more stories to uncover. But for the first time, I felt ready to follow the threads wherever they led, even if it meant confronting truths that might change everything I thought I knew about family, love, and myself. Days passed as I immersed myself in the materials from the attic. Every photograph, every letter, every document became a clue, a whisper from the past urging me to uncover the truth. I began researching Elena, the woman I had never met, tracing her name through old records, newspapers, and online archives. I discovered bits of her life, a young woman, determined and resilient, facing illnesses and hardships with a courage I could hardly imagine. Each detail added depth to the photographs, the letters, the words that had been hidden in my blanket and beneath the floorboard. She had loved me fiercely, even before I knew her. And then, among faded news clippings, I found a mention of a small hospital where she had worked briefly, a place connected to my earliest days. The article spoke of a woman who had saved lives quietly, with no fanfare, who had vanished from the records after a personal tragedy. It made my chest tighten, as if the world itself held its breath for her story to be told. I realized something profoundly humbling. The sacrifices made for me had been enormous. Margaret had taken on what was not hers by blood, and Elena had surrendered what she could not keep, trusting in Margaret's love. My life, every memory I had of comfort and safety, had been shaped by invisible hands, acts of courage and love I hadn't understood until now. The more I uncovered, the more I felt both grief and gratitude entwined. Grief for what I had missed, years without knowing Elena, moments that were lost to time, and gratitude for the women who had ensured I was never without love. I paused, looking around my childhood room, feeling the weight of history pressing gently against me. The blanket lay folded neatly on the chair, the letters tucked back into the box. They had brought me here, to a place of understanding, but also to a new responsibility, to honor the lives of two extraordinary women by living fully and remembering them in everything I did. And then, almost instinctively, I whispered their names into the quiet room, Margaret, Elena, and felt a warmth ripple through me, as if they were listening, as if they were near, smiling, proud of the person I had become. The more I learned, the more the line between past and present blurred. Each detail about Elena's life gave me a new lens to see my mother, Margaret, and even myself. I realized that love wasn't always simple or obvious. It could be quiet, hidden, woven into blankets, letters, and small, careful choices. I returned to the attic that evening, sitting cross-legged on the floorboards with the box of letters and photographs before me. I traced each photograph with my fingers, imagining the lives behind them, Elena holding me with desperation and hope, Margaret embracing me with all the love she had to give, and even the small hands of a child learning to navigate a world she had not chosen. I wondered about Elena's final days, whether she had smiled when she thought of me, whether she had found comfort knowing I was safe. I wondered if Margaret had ever doubted herself, carrying the secret of my birth, shouldering it quietly so that I would never feel incomplete. I felt a strange, aching gratitude. Their lives, their choices, had formed me, yet I hadn't understood until now the depth of their sacrifices. Each photograph, each word, each careful stitch in my blanket was a testament to their courage and love. And then I noticed a small detail I had missed before. The last photograph, tucked under the others, was of a small, sunlit garden. A note scribbled on the back read, "The place where she felt the first warmth of love, hold it in your heart." I realized the meaning instantly. This wasn't just about uncovering secrets, it was about understanding where love begins and how it shapes us. The garden was a symbol of beginnings, of care planted in secret, nurtured in silence, growing into something beautiful over time. Sitting there, surrounded by memories and letters, I felt a gentle shift inside me. For the first time, I understood that love transcends blood, transcends circumstances, and sometimes must be hidden before it can fully bloom. And I knew that my journey had only just begun. There were still truths to uncover, stories to tell, and connections to make. The days that followed were filled with quiet reflection and careful discovery. I revisited every letter, every photograph, every document in the box, piecing together fragments of Elena's life and the secret world my mother had protected me from. Each piece brought clarity, yet also new questions about the choices they had made. I realized the depth of their love, how both women had shaped me in ways I had never understood until now. Margaret had given me warmth, safety, and guidance, while Elena's unseen presence had carved a quiet resilience into my spirit. It was a strange and beautiful tapestry, stitched with courage, loss, and hope. One afternoon, I returned to the photograph of the sunlit garden. I studied it closely, imagining a young Elena there, holding me in her arms, whispering promises she could not keep. A wave of sorrow hit me, but beneath it, I felt a steady current of gratitude. They had both loved me fiercely, one in life, one in absence, both shaping me to become whole. I thought of my own life now, the choices I had made, the relationships I had nurtured. I saw how the love they had given me had silently guided me, how their sacrifices had allowed me to become strong enough to carry the story forward. And then I realized the next step. The box, the letters, the photographs, they were not just history. They were a bridge. A bridge to understanding, forgiveness, and connection. They were waiting for me to act, to reach out, to honor the past while embracing the present. I took a deep breath and whispered to the empty room, "I will carry your love. I will tell your story. I will keep her safe, as you wanted." For the first time, I felt a sense of purpose that went beyond grief or curiosity. It was a promise, to Elena, to Margaret, and to myself. A promise to live fully, with love and courage, and to honor the invisible threads that had shaped my life in ways I was only beginning to understand. The attic seemed warmer, softer, alive with memory and intention, as if acknowledging my vow. And I knew, this story, their story, my story, it was far from over. The final days of my search felt like walking through a quiet, sacred space. Every letter, every photograph, every faded memory from the attic had led me here, to understanding, to closure, and to a new beginning. I returned to the blanket one last time, tracing the stitched stars with my fingers, remembering how it had once comforted me during storms, how it had hidden secrets that only now made sense. My mother's love, Elena's sacrifice, and my own life were all intertwined, threads of courage, hope, and devotion. I realized that love didn't always arrive in obvious ways. Sometimes it was hidden, quietly shaping us, guiding us through fear and loss. Sometimes it waited patiently, sewn into blankets, tucked beneath floorboards, whispered through letters. And sometimes it called us to act, to honor it, to understand it, and to carry it forward.